The story kicks off with Harry Haft, a survivor in a concentration camp at Auschwitz. Harry, now a boxer in America, steps into the ring to fight La Starza. Unfortunately for Harry, his memories of the camp and his lover, Leah, keep coming. As a result, he struggles to focus and loses the fight. Thereafter, Harry's friend, Peretz, who also survived the camp, urges him to forget about the past and focus on what's important.
The past is the past.
Don't think of the past. The past just comes, one thing or another.
Later in the evening, they walk into a bar to get some drinks. There, Peretz falls in love with a singer, Rushka. However, Harry meets a journalist, Anderson, who offers to publish Harry's story. Uninterested, Harry says everyone already knows about his story as the survivor of Auschwitz, but Anderson feels there is more to know about the story. Harry still ponders over his lover, Leah, and he has a strong feeling that she is not dead. Nonetheless, Anderson drops his card in case Harry has a change of mind.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The next day, Harry walks to a refugee office to get anything he can about Leah, but the clerk insists there is no information about her yet. Annoyed, Harry attacks the clerk, but Miriam immediately steps in, assuring him that they are still working on finding Leah.
We are trying to help you find her, but you have to trust us.
That afternoon, Harry meets with Barkley and urges him to set him up against one of the best boxers, Marciano. Barkley feels the odds are against him, and that, for someone who could not stand La Starza, Marciano seems too much for him. Harry believes Leah is still alive.
Barkley, I need to fight.
But for her to know he survived the camp too, he needs to get famous. With that, he feels Leah will find him. A few moments later, Harry meets Anderson to strike a deal, which is to get publicity so he can be famous and be noticed by Marciano. But Anderson agrees to the deal only on the condition that he has to narrate how he survived back then in the concentration camp. Finally, Harry begins narrating his story of his time at the camp at Auschwitz. Back then, Harry attacked a Sturman for the death of Jean's wife, Reschiel. However, Schneider stepped in and had him transferred, with the sole purpose of using him as an asset to generate money. Schneider trained him into a crazy boxer and informed him he would be put against other Jews just to help the officers pass the time. As directed, Harry fought his first opponent and took him out like it was nothing. Unfortunately for his opponent, he got shot after the defeat because the winner stayed up and the loser took a bullet. In the present, Harry grows tired of telling his story, so he urges Anderson to get something published, with the little he has said already. A few days later, news about Harry's story is published, but Peretz does not seem cool about it. Peretz switches their conversation and says he wants to get married to Rushka.
I decided to marry Rushka.
Harry does not buy the idea, saying that's not how love works. On the contrary, he feels what he has for Leah is real love. However, Peretz insinuates that Leah is just a random girl Harry smashed in the camp. This hits a nerve, and Harry punches Peretz. The next day, Harry trains in the boxing gym for his next fight. Then Barkley walks in and announces that a fight has been scheduled with Marciano. As a result, he urges Harry to train and fight like the animal that he is. Being called Animal suddenly brings back memories of the camp again, and Harry loses focus as usual.
Harry!
Later that day, Harry sneaks into Marciano's boxing gym. He gets noticed by Charley Goldman, who advises him to leave before Marciano sees him. Harry then asks Charley if there's a way he can win against Marciano, but Charley tells him he can't win, but can only try to survive. Meanwhile, Harry meets Miriam again in her office. Unfortunately, Miriam has not found anything about Leah, but though she knows who he is, Harry seems surprised that she's still trying to help him. From there, they decide to have a few chats while they stroll. From their conversation, Harry finds out about Miriam's late fiancé, Steve.
Steve?
Yeah, not a joke.
Harry thinks Miriam is trying to sabotage the whole situation and acts a bit disrespectful towards her. But before it's too late, Harry immediately apologizes for his act. That evening, Anderson meets Harry in the boxing gym to take some pictures for his upcoming fight against Marciano. Anderson says he heard that Harry is looking for his lover and wonders why he didn't tell him about her. Harry wonders why he should tell him, but Anderson insists that he can be of help if he shares the story with him. He also asks about Schneider, but Harry says there is not much about him, except for the fact that he was his trained dog. But Anderson hits a nerve when he says, "Even a beaten dog loves its master."
Trained dog, nothing more.
But even a beaten dog loves its master.
Furious, Harry attacks him, but he immediately snaps out of it, and they continue taking the pictures. At some point, Harry remembers his time in the camp when he asked to fight a strong and real boxer, a French heavyweight championship fighter. At first, he struggled to contain his opponent, but after about 18 rounds that lasted till late at night, Harry defeated the heavyweight guy. Right after the fight, Schneider told him that he had won the people's respect for beating up a real fighter.
They will never forget what you did today. None of them will. They may hate you, Herzog, but you have their respect.
They both have a little conversation, where Schneider implies that Harry's ancestors were expelled from every Christian country because they couldn't fight back for themselves. Just when Schneider tried to pee, Harry picked up his gun and tried to pull the trigger, but Schneider managed to talk his way out of taking a bullet to the head. Then they both have some drinks. A few days later, Miriam meets Harry and informs him that she found a woman who recognized Leah's name at the Survivors Organization in Chicago.
I have news about Leia.
You found her?
Well, not exactly. The Survivors Organization in Chicago found a woman who...
Although Miriam does not know exactly where Leia is, she says the whole situation is like a puzzle in which she will eventually find all its pieces. However, for Harry, this further affirms that Leia is alive. About a month later, Barclay links Harry with Charley to get some training so he can at least stand a chance in fighting against Marciano. Charley reminds him of his awful records and says the first mistake he made was that he was trained wrongly. This gets Harry thinking he has not been doing well, but that's not the case. Before anything, Charley says Marciano's hurting and will want to end the fight quickly.
Life. You can use that to your advantage. You understand?
Harry thinks the best approach to win against someone hurting is to attack and make him backward. Charley, on the other hand, says the first rule is never to play a man at his own game. He then agrees to train Harry for just 2 days on the condition that he can't tell anyone about it. Harry thinks Charley is doing this so he can win against his boy, Marciano, but he further affirms that he is training him not so he can win, but so he can at least lose with some dignity. Without wasting time, Charley begins to train Harry. While they work on his weaknesses and strengths, Charley suggests that he prevent Marciano from catching deep breaths and also improve the volume of his punches.
If you let him take a deep breath, you're a dead man. Volume of punches, that's what's gonna happen. Pop, 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 pop.
Later that evening, Harry sees a firework and panics again because it brings back some old memories. Barclay offers him some pills to help him sleep, and he refuses at first. But after a little chat, he agrees to take the pills. About 2 days later, the training with Harry ends, and Charley needs to return to Marciano. But before he leaves, he advises Harry to seize the advantage of being the underdog and not buy anything from the street.
I wish you blessing and success. Let's go.
At the Rhode Island Auditorium, where the fight will take place, Harry meets Miriam again. Surprised, Harry asks if Miriam is a sports fan, but she replies that she came to support him. They have a few conversations and agree to see a movie afterwards. Meanwhile, both Harry and Marciano are introduced to spectators. Harry weighs 174 pounds.
Harry Haft weighs in at 174 pounds.
While Marciano weighs 184.5 pounds. At the appointed time, Harry and Marciano walk into the ring, and the fight begins. The first round of the fight is an exciting one. Harry comes with full force on Marciano and wins the round. During the second round, the usual happens again. Harry suddenly hears Leah's voice in his head and begins to lose focus. Marciano, however, seizes the opportunity and begins dominating every other round, till he finally drops Harry on a final knockout. After the fight, Peretz meets Harry in the locker room. He commends his first round, but assumes it was a tough loss in the end. He wonders what changed all of a sudden in the ring. Then Harry explains that he had a feeling that Leah was dead.
In the ring, and I feel she's gone. This is the way you know.
And since she is the reason why he is fighting, he couldn't go any further after the weird feeling. As a result, he decides to finally give up on boxing. When Peretz leaves, Harry looks through the mirror and remembers how he finally unalived Schneider back then. After giving up on boxing, Peretz suggests that Harry get a grip and start a new life with Miriam. Harry feels Miriam is too good for him, but Peretz reminds him that he didn't just survive to be alone, but to live and have kids. Later, Miriam implies that she forgot her scarf in the church and urges Harry to come with her. On getting to the church, Miriam begins reminiscing about how she used to come to church and how she considers the church her safe space. Harry does not buy into this. He recollects that his god didn't turn up when his sister's son was killed by the German soldiers back then, barely 2 hours after coming to life. Miriam understands how he feels, so she suggests he stop looking for Leia. Harry, on the other hand, asks Miriam if she will be able to share him with Leia if he decides to share her with her late fiancé, Steve, and she says yes. A few months later, Harry and Miriam get married. But at first, Harry struggles to even enjoy Miriam's kitty cat, due to his memory of Leah. Nonetheless, Miriam understands and gives him time to come around. Years later, Harry finally settles well with Miriam, and they begin to lead a good life. Thereafter, Anderson finds Harry in his new shop, with the address to the location of Leah, just as he promised years back. This scatters his healing process again.
I told you, Harry, I keep my promises. You be well.
And he begins to take the aggression out on his son, Alan. Harry calls Alan out, yelling and urging him to get his boxing gloves. He gets Alan to the boxing gym and begins to use emotions to train him, and leaves him in there till he is done. Meanwhile, Miriam feels he is only terrorizing the kid, but Harry feels he is just teaching him how to protect himself. But Miriam is not buying into this. Later at night, Harry begins to have a nightmare about the past again.
Kill me!
So when Alan sneaks up on him, Harry jolts awake and checks if Alan is hurt or not. The next day, Alan confronts Miriam regarding the issue with his father. He wonders what's wrong with him. Then Miriam insists that Harry will tell him what's wrong with him when the time is right.
Yes, you could say I had a friend. Once. In the camps.
Alan, on the other hand, wonders when the right time will be. Maybe when he turns 40 or something. Also, Alan does not feel Harry likes him enough as a father. During their mother-to-son conversation, Harry walks in. Then Alan immediately moves out to prepare for school, along with his sister, Helene. Worried, Harry asks what the issue is. After a little persuasion, Harry is forced to explain that he has been acting cold. Turns out that he is still yet to get over how he was made to fight his friend. Jean, back then in the concentration camp, a fight that made him fight and unalive his friends. Jean was much more than a friend. They did everything and shared things back then in the camp. Harry feels guilty for taking Jean's life and blames himself because he feels he could have done better than fighting Jean, who was always ready to give up his life for him. Although Miriam feels he didn't have a choice and couldn't have done better than that, Harry still feels he could have said no to the fight. Regardless of how Harry feels, Miriam feels Alan deserves to know about the whole story. This annoys Harry because he does not want his kid to have a share of his dark past.
Who deserves to have that kind of darkness pushed inside of them, inside of their children?
But irrespective of his emotions, Miriam feels that to fix his family, Alan needs to know about it. A few days later, Harry takes his family on a vacation to the address Anderson gave him, Tybee Island, Georgia. While they have some time in Georgia, Harry urges Alan to prepare for a drive. Knowing her husband very well, Miriam knows something is off. She asks why they are on a sudden vacation, but Harry refuses to open up. Nonetheless, Miriam could sense that Harry brought them to Georgia because of Leah. Apparently, the vacation is to meet and bid a final goodbye to Leah.
Bist altgewohnt, Herzke.
After finding out that she is alive, Harry drives along with Alan to meet Leah. Turns out that Leah is now married to a man named Michael, and blessed with 2 kids, Sarah and David. Meeting Leah feels like a happily ever after story, but in reality, it's more of a goodbye for both of them. They both have some healthy conversations, where both ask if they love their partners. Leah says that she was about to give up back then in the camp.
When I wanted to give up.
But her love for him kept her going. She further adds that she found the article published by Anderson and got married the morning after his fight with Marciano. Thereafter, Harry drives back to his wife, Miriam, at the beach. On their way, he shows Alan an old picture and explains everything he has been hiding from him.
Not to grow up fearful that someone or some people would come after you because of your faith.
His life at the concentration camp. Later, Harry returns to Miriam, wins her over with some jokes, and they return to being a happy family. Harry and Miriam remained married until he died in 2007. Miriam passed away in 2019, and they are survived by their 3 children and 6 grandchildren. The end.